focus. Ideate, innovate, enable. Forbes India and ServiceNow present the COO Collective.
Hello and welcome to the COO Collective, a series brought to you by Forbes India in association with ServiceNow. I'm Paramita Chatterjee. Now, over the course of the series, we've been exploring how digital transformation can be a key enabler when it comes to your business. And we've been in conversation with COOs of leading companies to share with us their experience, their challenges. And today our focus on the show is enabling transformational value acceleration. What does it mean, creating and maximizing customer value? And how is it linked to customer experience? How can technology be a key enabler in this space and help in integrating various stakeholders and partners in your business? Well, joining us today on the show are key leaders from various industry segments to share with us their experience in terms of digital transformation and how they've been using their own strategies in order to deliver the kind of transformational value acceleration in their own businesses. Let me introduce our panelists to you, starting with Reena Evans, who is the Director of Operations at Swiggy. Next, we have Kezad Hiramanik, COO, Edelweiss Tokyo Life Insurance.
Sridhar Durairajan, Director and Head of Technology Excellence, ServiceNow.
And Tejasvi Veerapalli, COO, Apollo Hospitals Enterprises. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us today on the show. Now, I began by saying, and Reena, let me start with you and give you the occasion to really start off this discussion. You know, customer value, customer experience, these are terms that every brand and every company is using today. But you know, how do you apply it, particularly to companies such as yours, which is Swiggy, or Bundle Technologies, which is your parent? I mean, what does customer value mean today, especially in today's digital age?
For me, the validations that we get, which is the customer value, is when the customer feels that he's getting complete return on the investment of the time that he has spent with the service provider for the product or service that he is using it for. So to enhance that, the clicks that we look at is, are we having the variety that the consumer is looking for? Are we at the best pricing that the consumer is looking for? And not just only which have a returns, these are the pointers where you see how your revenue is growing, etc. But we also very closely observe in terms of trust and safety. And the consumers, end of the day, rely on us, right? So how reliable we are as a platform for the consumer to take the value for a longer journey. Mm-hmm. So these are the few things that from a service delivery industry, not just Swiggy, from the entire industry which I would represent, as a fundamental we follow.
Okay, great. So, I mean, I think you brought up some key themes here. Return on investment, especially from a customer's time point of view,
yes.
Trust and safety. Let me go across now to an industry which is being represented by Kezad, which has been around much before the digital age and continues to thrive as well, but with very different rules of the game. I mean, how are you sort of operating as opposed to a digital native like a Swiggy? Yours is a bit of a mix and match.
That's right. So, you know, insurance typically is a long-term contract that the customer enters into. So, value for the customer in this kind of business is in terms of, you know, how little effort does he need to take time-wise, you know, physically and cognitively to actually complete the entire journey of buying a policy. Now, typically, because this is intermediated, he's dealing with an agent, he's dealing with a banker, he's dealing with a broker, who's basically selling him the product. So insurance typically even today is sold rather than bought, because nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I'm going to buy an insurance policy today. So that being the case, how well equipped is the seller to actually have a cogent pitch, you know, which makes sense, you know, indulgent need discovery, you know, intelligently actually provide solutions, you know, package it nicely so that the customer is convinced to buy. Post that, of course, the customer's ability and empowerment to service himself. Because see, typically the seller may or may not be around post the sale, but the customer still needs to service that contract over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So how is he being enabled to service himself? Okay, there is one more element to this, which is the claimant, because eventually many people buy life insurance not for themselves but for their next of kin or their loved ones. So how easy is it going to be for the claimant to figure that there was a contract and it needs to be redeemed post an unfortunate event?
Right.
One very important thing, and you touched upon trust, Paramita. People entrust their lifetime savings in terms of long-term investment. So return on investment in terms of what was promised and what is actually being delivered to you over that period of time is so important, and how that is represented to you through either the physical or the digital means is what is the real crux of life insurance as a long-term promise.
So it seems like the basic tenets or the value systems haven't changed, and you said trust is a very core pillar of that. And when we talk about trust, I think it can't get deeper than in the healthcare space. And we've got Tejasvi. So Tejasvi, is it still pretty much, would you echo a little bit of what Kaizad has said? Because for you in the healthcare space, in the hospital space, customer value is still very closely linked to his or her medical outcomes. I mean, has it changed after digitization?
No, I don't think it has changed or it will ever change. I think healthcare still is largely driven by trust, by transparency. Also, like you've rightly said, we simply define it as outcomes achieved per dollar or rupee spent, right? It is just as simple as that. There are many factors that influence customer value in today's day and age. It could be convenience, it could be proximity, price is just one part of it, the quality of services that you deliver, the responsiveness and alertness of stakeholders within the institute, and so on and so forth, right? We use technology and digital as part of that as a pure enabler rather than pivoting the entire business model altogether.
Okay, so technology is seen as an enabler. I think that's what we are sensing, at least from healthcare and insurance. We've got some voices therein, whereas for a digital native, it's clearly a sort of a key foundation on which you've built your business upwards. So Sridhar, weigh in here, because all these companies are at different stages and ages of their digital transformation journey. So with so much talk about ChatGPT, new versions, I mean, human beings are going to become redundant. I mean, what exactly will the role technology can play today and is actually playing for companies?
To begin with, ever since the pandemic has begun, this digital transformation has been the buzzword. Definitely enabled a lot of organizations across industries in achieving the immediate requirements back then. But now if we look at it, with whatever everybody was in the organization was trying to do something, they wanted to use digital and they've created something. Now organizations are looking at a digital sprawl, that there are so many systems or digital setups that has been created. Now they are trying to figure out how am I going to collate everything and make a meaningful sense out of the amount of data that I'm getting. So we normally encourage our customers to look at a platform-led approach where you kind of integrate all these systems that you've created, where a lot of silos of excellence that is being set up, connect everything so that you will be able to get insights into the amount of data that you are gathering across the board, be it in terms of customer life cycle, employee life cycle, or even an operational life cycle standpoint. And then how can you convert the insights into action? And once you do that, that's when you'll be able to really measure what kind of value all these digital transformation-led projects has given back to the organization. We will continue to discuss more, but I would like to leave it with one thought. Since 2017, digital transformation has been talked about, pretty much got accelerated during pandemic. By end of 2023, it's estimated that the overall cumulative spend on digital transformation is supposed to cross $10 trillion across the globe. So, of course, when organizations are pumping in so much of investment, they are going to look at what kind of returns I'm going to get. So we'll talk more about what kind of...
And very interesting you said that, because there's so many, studies which have been done, and while, as you said, a lot of money is being spent, but, I think I read a recent study which said that while 90% or more than that, organizations are spending money on digital transformation, but I think only about 20 odd % are actually seeing the value. Sridhar, in your experience, especially in the Indian ecosystem, and complexity is the name of the game in our ecosystem, which is unique to us. I mean, what's the biggest challenge that you feel that companies are facing? And what's a low-hanging fruit in terms of a technology deployment that could help them?
Wonderful question, Pramita. So, biggest challenge as such, it's about the mindset with which we are approaching a project, right? Many a times they will try to replicate whatever they've been doing, brick and mortar or offline process to an online. They're trying to create a digital twin of an existing problem. So that becomes a digital problem for you. So we need to take a look at how am I performing today and how best this can be optimized and what is the right way of doing it. And then we need to look at digitizing that so that it's a universal fact, garbage in, garbage out. So we need to cut that. That's one biggest mindset shift that's required. From a low-hanging fruit, it again, it's quite a diverse topic. It varies from industry to industry. But ultimately, customers are the king, and we need to look at what makes more sense for a customer and how we can enable our business to better serve our customers. And whatever it takes, we need to pick that up. And if that's going to impact or create a positive mindshare for a customer, that's going to lead to revenue generation activity. I think that's a low-hanging fruit. Get that win first, and then people will see a massive success of that particular initiative. And once that quick wins is established, you will get support from everywhere. Even the leadership team is going to bless you.
So you would say start small, see the wins, and then spread out from there.
That's right, yes.
Okay, and just now, closing comments from all of you. I mean, this is a fascinating discussion because all of you have been, following and implementing such innovative solutions. Since, Swiggy is relatively the youngest, and I think so are you in the panel today, but having said that, the future, as we always say, belongs to the young, and it's something that you've had the advantage, many would say, having started in this digital age. But what's your big challenge, and what's the big promise that you feel technology can deliver on in the coming times?
So the biggest challenge is adoption. So though we say digital first, we have various use cases, who's our users, and you need to build this whole digitization into or convert the language of digitization to the user's language. So there might be people who are educated and using or being digital first, or people who are not educated and being digital first. So how you're kind of taking this transition, understanding the user behavior and trying to go implement. So the entire digitization is a journey. It's always a runway. You can never say it's end. Right? So where we start from today, we just have to be more agile and just be more innovative in just redoing whatever we are doing till we see the improvements. It could be various touch points and improvements. Are we converting more? Are we getting more users? More repeat? Could be anything. But I think it's a process. It's just been a continuous process. I think being young, what we definitely understood is we never said like it's over. Let's move on to something. We've been just redoing and again and doing the same things. With more data points. The more the data, the more the voice of consumer, we call it, convert it into what is required, how is the user behavior, and give the best user experience possible.
Okay, so keep building on that digitization journey. Next step in your digital transformation journey, what are going to be those key priorities?
See, I always believe that when you digitize the physical, you must humanize the digital. And because this is typically a human business, I mean, there would be no life insurance without life, right? And for life, you need human beings. So what you really need is to measure the pulse of the intermediary. You need to measure the pulse of the customer who's buying. You need to measure the high points, low points, the effort typically in terms of time, physical effort, cognitive, and now even emotional effort. Because what has happened during COVID is that customers have, I mean, somewhere down the line got in touch with their emotions. And they are, very happy to vent them in a public forum. So, how you add value to that process and that interaction and measure it and make sure that you keep getting better. And I think a lot of organizations actually, beat themselves up on what they're not doing well. They should actually, applaud themselves on what they're doing well and actually keep, adding to that instead of focusing only on the negatives of what they're doing.
I think that applies to all of us actually. That's a great point. And of course, Tejasvi, what would you say is going to be your next priority area for you as a group?
So we've been wanting to leverage the massive data lake that we have built over the last 40 years or so.
Is this all integrated?
At this point in time, it's work in progress.
Okay.
We're hoping that we will reach there quite soon. But largely, we've been advocates of moving from curative to preventive medicine. In healthcare, being retrospective will not really be much of use. So being proactive is something that we've been driving the entire market towards. So we've been wanting to build and automate a lot of these care pathways in these chronic disease management platforms. And we've sort of made some strides in that. We built a sugar platform where today a lot of these diabetic patients are enrolled, where we are able to sort of personalize and customize the care plans to that extent,
right,
where based on my sugar parameters today, if I'm going to a wedding, you can tell me whether I can eat a rice of ball or a laddu or not.
Wow.
Right?
Okay, so, very important.
So
yes.
I could Swiggy it for all we know, right? So the idea is to extrapolate these learnings and move towards more of these chronic disease illnesses and see how we can.
So a lot of customization here. You're planning to really, customize and get to know your customer better, and then customize that kind of treatment and offerings, proactive treatment. Final word, Sridhar, in terms of some crystal ball gazing and advice really to organizations from here on, because as we keep saying, the economic climate is somewhat it's challenging. And and every dollar is being looked at quite closely.
Yeah. First of all, amazing thoughts. Really enjoyed these interactions and amazing points that has been put forward. Ultimately, if you look at from an operational perspective, every organization is trying to drive efficiency, improve stakeholder value more importantly, and then how do I achieve operational agility and resilience? More importantly, deliver great excellence from a service perspective to both employees and customers. The challenges are well known. I think we have discussed it. We have created silos of excellence. How do I connect all of this together, create a data foundation, gain a visibility into what kind of information I get about my process, about my people, about my customers.
Right.
People, process and technology pretty much plays the role. And then how do I unify all of this to drive insights? We have, there's no dearth of technology today. We have the best of the breed, modern data science, advanced data science that's available, which can throw amazing insights by looking into this data, and then we'll bring in this responsible automation, use that to simplify the experience for our customers and employees. One thing we didn't discuss, which is again, I'm sure most of the COOs would agree, the topmost priority and the board's priority today is sustainability, or ESG for that matter. And how are we looking at it? How do we make sure whatever we do, we are not leaving something behind, and we are creating a safe environment and a secure business for the organization. And if we are able to do all of this with a platform-led approach instead of doing it in silos, is where ServiceNow comes in and enabling organizations across the globe in solving this problem. So I think that's the way forward. It's very well established,
right,
and for us it's about replicating it. So
okay, so I think we've heard some fantastic voices today on the show that's really given us a holistic perspective, and Sridhar rightly brought in the point about ESG as well, because that's a big concern and a key priority area for companies as well. And digital can be a big enabler for all of you who are, I'm sure, at some stage of your digital transformation journey. You've heard of real life working examples of how each one of these companies is using digital solutions, integrating their data in order to really maximize on the customer value and the customer experience. On that note, it's time for us to wrap up this very special discussion on the COO Collective. So clearly, technology can be the backbone or a key enabler in order for you to really integrate all your data silos and deliver the right and effective solution to help you transform and accelerate customer value and customer experience. Thank you so much for joining us.
Forbes India and ServiceNow present the COO Collective. Innovate. Enable.